So, Bruce Lipton talks about identity, the self versus the other. And he says that when we're looking at love chemistry, it's quite obvious that the hormones feel good. We have everything from, by the bell, say by the bell, oxytocin, dopamine, vasopressin, and growth hormone. And the chemistry of fear would be obviously things that we say might not feel good. That's why we move to act. So everything from cytokines, cortisol is commonly known, and also histamine, which is kind of inflammation, and norepinephrine, which gives us a lot of energy, which could feel good, but also but if it's in combination with the others, it could be uncomfortable. We have something called multi-potential cells, which are under epigenetic control because they differentiate by their culture medium. So in other words, they're stem cells, they're embryonic cells, and these identical original cells become everything from fat to bone to muscle. And so, these cells, multi-potential cells, they have various potential, and they become different things. So then once things become different things, how do they identify whether it's me or not me? So the brain of the cell was often thought of as the nucleus. According to Bruce Lipton, it's actually the membrane of the cell, the outside. And if you think about it, the nucleus is like the brain, but you don't identify people based on their brain. You identify them based on the outside, their full appearance, their face, right? Similar in the cell, the outside. So the human nervous system is derived from an infolding of the skin, which, if you learn about embryonic development, this is true. On the back of the embryo in the womb, an infolding of the skin, and then the human nervous system becomes part of that. The nucleus, actually, which we would think of as almost like the brain, is more like the reproductive structure. These are the blueprints to make new proteins, new cells. And it's true. It's like where all the bank is of the code and information. We might even say it's not like the brain. It could be like the reproductive cells. Anyway, the signals activate genes. These signals exist in the environment. So in other words, the environment is the culture medium. So the culture medium that we're in causes protein channels to open. Signal enters. Also, there's inside, there's a receptor on the outside, like an antenna, to outside. And then also on the inside, there's a receptor basically analogously, which is like eyes and ears built into the skin. The eyes take things in and also then send information in. The ears take things in and then send information in. Same on the outside of the cell. This receptor and channel together, the receptor is coming from the outside. The protein channel opens, the signal enters, and there's a receptor like an antenna toward outside. This receptor channel together is referred to as a cell membrane switch, where the primary signal is interpreted input by receptor, and the secondary signal is the resulting output. So the channel unlocks, and into the cell something comes in, and this together is all called receptor, effector, integral, membrane, protein complex. And the receptor is like awareness of the environment, and the channel is through the physical sensation. So how the channel is how that information, the awareness, can actually come in through the sensation. So it's a function of the cell membrane, and it's to do with perception. And then we would say, what is our channel antenna going? What are receptors, our channels, what are they getting? So we're perceiving based on the source, right? We might say, of a program. In other words, we're receiving a program from a source. You could even say codes that we send, like your computer is talking to my computer. There's channels and there's receptors. Perceptions are not all accurate, and they represent our beliefs. And this is where we could say beliefs could be to interpret, and we can interpret our belief through our beliefs, and we can also release because of beliefs, and we can release beliefs themselves. I would like to say that Alter Rebbe teaches Torah is like food for the soul. It's the indwelling light, thinking about channel and receptor. And the Alter Rebbe is the founder of Chabad, and he wrote the Tanya. While the mitzvos are like garments, they're encompassing light. So here we're thinking of the culture medium. Our mitzvos actually affect our culture medium. And when we learn Torah, it's like the receptor into the cell. And still, Torah can actually also be like a garment for the intellectual soul. So these interpretations and beliefs, which we are perceiving and based on the outside are even affected not only by the culture medium, but what our beliefs are will affect our culture medium. Spiritual. So here we talked about physical, made it spiritual, and then I want to talk about relational or emotional. We have Planetary Oracle on Instagram, talking about relationships. So union, right? So herself and other becoming one is not the same thing as romantic ideal. It's the result of deep inner work. Emotional intelligence is cultivated through facing our wounds. Again, we're working with our beliefs, integrating shadow, and relating without conditioning in terms of survival mode, because we start to recognize that where we came from in our culture medium, how we now have new potential, because now we could return to like our stem cells and our embryonic cells and have like love chemistry and in our identity. So we relate without the survival mode conditioning, and love at this level of awareness means a relationship which is space for truth, healing, conscious evolution versus just comfort. And connection does not form from intensity alone, but through emotional maturity, self-responsibility, because it's really an invitation to show up without the masks and the games and the false self-protections. And love becomes a mirror reflecting who you're becoming, not who you're trying to hold together. And so I want to share, so we talked about the physical, talked about the spiritual, talked about the emotional. I want to talk about the mental now. So this is the final level. Mental, we call it like the I. So who am I? The mind really protects the self, the identity, right? So we have here physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Switches, because we're calling this, switches. The switch includes whether it's open or closed and what's coming in or out. So we believe, not believe. So it's great. It's like everyone said, epigenetics, turn on a gene. Here we're talking about turning on our emotions, turning on our identity, turning on physiology, and turning on spirituality. So I am worthy, and you could say this with me, you could pause it, whatever. I am precious. I am powerful. I am being reflected by love, or for the sake of love's calling. I am a slim, fit, elegant babe who's also rich. I am not afraid of time or space alone. I'm getting exactly what I need from the masculine right now. I am of priceless value. I am able to be vulnerable and patient. I am worthy of hard work and protection. I love that. I'm able to be vulnerable and patient. I am worthy of hard work and protection. I'm of priceless value. I am not afraid of time or space alone. I guess I said those. I am a sexy, glamorous, popular hottie. I radiate my anchorship of love and focus. I can handle the responsibility of taking care of myself. I am a channel for divine consciousness and divine will. I am a liberated liberator. I'm able to meet others on their level. I am a responsible leader. I respect my voice. My feelings matter. All the best. I want to wish everybody a week of replenishment and a wonderland of blessings, of bioactivation, of the chemistry of love, and to feel successful, to feel complete, to be showered with gifts, to feel safe in intimacy and in vulnerability, to get enough rest and to catch up on what's important to us. In a way that feels sustainable and maintainable and with determination. Amen. Shavua Tov Mavorach. Have a good week.